story, but I'll give you the abbreviated version. I got into the pallet business 10 years ago with my best friend. Um, he got me an opportunity to go work for a company in Illinois that brokered pallets, and that's what I was doing. And my territory was pretty much most of Missouri, southern Iowa, northern Arkansas, and the entire state of Kansas. And there's not many trees in Kansas once you get past Topeka. And I traveled all around and found inline consumers for the pallets. But the biggest thing I took away from it was relationships with sawmills. So I would travel all around the states and find places we could buy cants and resawn lumber for pallet stock. And in doing so, firmed up some really cool relationships with a lot of Amish people around the state. And the opportunity came for Clemens and I, who was my former Amish business partner, to buy a new sawmill, and we bought a true cut bandsaw mill that would cut 72-inch diameter logs. And we started cutting that, and we built our own kiln up in Bethany, and we were kiln drying the lumber. But the problem we had is we were trying to dry 12,000 feet at a time in a big hand-built kiln, and without electricity, we really had no way to pull the moisture out of the lumber. Clemens and I parted ways about a year ago. My wife and I were blessed enough to buy the 40 acres that we're on now. Like you guys said in the intro, it's where the Blue Mills grist mill used to be, and the grist mill was built on our land in 1834. The grist mill and sawmills were the two very first sawmill structures or mill structures in Jackson County prior to the Civil War. They milled some of the finest flour west of the Mississippi. People would travel as far away as New Orleans to get flour from the Blue Mills Landing. The mill closed during the Civil War and was used for a battlefield hospital. And after the Civil War, the mill reopened and closed finally in 1878, sat there in ruins until 1923. And the onlookers in the history books, they write about watching the destruction of the mill, and as they tore down the building, they rolled the millstones down into the river. So there's a lot of history there. The Battle of the Little Blue was fought there on those hillsides. And in 1910, the federal government exhumed the bodies of the soldiers that were buried on our property, and they moved them to Leavenworth National Cemetery for a proper burial. So my friend Keith got me into the pallet business, which got me into the lumber business, which in turn got me into the sawmill business. Keith had a stroke in March of 2016 and passed. So when we formed our company, we thought we wanted to honor his memory and name our company after Keith. So I am the L in L&K, and Keith is the K. A lot of people ask, your wife's name's Cammie, and it's spelled with a C. They thought that either I didn't know how to spell or didn't know how to name my company. But no, the Keith is for Keith Reining, and Keith was my inspiration. And I'm a firm believer that God puts people in your lives for both good and bad. You need to have the wisdom to figure out which is which, and Keith was definitely a good one. But we built about an 8,000 square foot sawmill building on our property last summer with the helps of a few friends and neighbors. We cut all our own lumber there from logs that we harvested off our property selectively. All of our floor joists are made of hackberry, Kentucky coffee, ash, and red oak. I have 8x8s that hold up the main supports for the floor, and 12x12s that hold up the headers that we built. So the building is way overbuilt. I did all of the floor joists out of actual 2x10s, not nominal, and they're hardwood and they're 12-inch on center. And we decided that we would go ahead and build a second floor. So we have about 2,200 square foot of uninterrupted freestanding space upstairs that we're not sure what we're going to do with. So we have a Timber King 6000, which is a large bandsaw mill. If anybody's not familiar with Timber King, Cammie and I believe in supporting local. Timber King is a local company. It's also Woodmaster Tools. We had the very first 6,000 to roll off the line. That picture there, and we put that thing. We actually built the mill, or built the building around the mill and around our iDry vacuum kiln, and that was another very nice piece of equipment that we were blessed enough to get. iDry is definitely on the cutting edge of technology when it comes to lumber drying. I could put 8-quarter walnut in that kiln with a moisture reading of about 30%, and between 14 and 16 days it comes out stable. So that is a lot better than air drying, which is an inch per year, good rule of thumb. So we crank out a lot of dry lumber. The only bad thing is I have not been able to keep up with dry lumber. So we have a little thing right now where you pick it and I dry it. I've had people come out and pick out a slab that speaks to them, and we can take that slab and mark a sold sign on it and hang a little tag from it and stick it in the kiln, and just a few weeks their lumber's ready for delivery. And we buy logs from anybody that has them to sell. I try to stay away from any logs that are smaller than 24 inches in diameter. It's funny because people call all the time and they claim they have a huge walnut log they want to sell. And when I ask them for a description, they'll tell me it's about 10 feet long and 14 inches in diameter. And what can we do with it? And I said, well, typically that's firewood for us. And that upsets quite a few people. Kindling. Yeah, it really is kindling. We could cut it into stickers. But the slabs that we have at our place right now, some of the species that we cut a lot are going to be ash. We cut a lot of hackberry, black walnut. We have a lot of big mature sycamore trees on our land. Black oak, red oak, white oak, shagbark hickory, type bark hickory, some locusts, but it's really hard to manhandle. Locust is so heavy. If I found some hedge that was straight enough, I'd probably slab some of that out. Hedge is a great tone wood, makes really good turkey calls and duck calls. But that's most of the lumber that we cut. We offer milling services for our customers. So if somebody had an heirloom log, something that was off a piece of property that was important to them, do a tree-to-table program where you can actually bring your log out, tell us how you want it cut, and we'll mill it for you. Depending on what you're going to use it for, we'll mill it to your spec. And then not only can we mill it, we can actually put it in the kiln and dry it for you, give you some nice stable wood that you can build whatever you want to build with it, some nice heirloom furniture.